Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nusa Capital coming to you on a very hot afternoon for the Southern Hemisphere. And we start off with some of the usual metrics in looking at the crypto market. First of all, the fear and greed index, about 14, which is extreme fear, as we can see. And our altcoin season is at 32 out of 100, which means that we're still really in Bitcoin season, albeit not a completely dominant one, but far enough to begin to not to even begin to talk about an altcoin season. I think you need to have your altcoin season index at about 76 before you begin to think of altcoins. Crypto market cap currently sitting at about $2.32 trillion, with I believe the daily volume of about $49.5 billion, and roughly since the beginning of this month, we've had more or less flat. It's literally been flat, as you can see on the chart here. Bitcoin dominates at about 58.4%, Ethereum 10.2%, and the others are 31.4%. We also look at the crypto ETFs, the net flow. As you can see, it's been net negative for the last, in fact, literally since the beginning of February. And we just had some slight positivity, only just slightly positive at the end of this week. So we look at the Bitcoin monthly returns. As we can see, it's negative in February. In 2025, it was negative, but most of the years, as you can see here, are not negative at all in February. Quarterly returns, 22.51% here so far, negative, and 3.59% for Ethereum, also quite negative. All right, so let's jump into looking at Bitcoin, and we're going to be looking at some of the metrics that I've been using to determine where the price might go. And as you can see here, you've seen this chart before, which I did, I think, last week or the week before. We are looking at this bit here, which is the true market mean, which currently sits at about 78,770. Now, as we can see, that the price has broken that particular metric, and we've had to look at the past to see what happened in the past. So we go back to about the 2021 here. As you can see, it broke it came here, tested it, went back up, tested it again, went back up, and then broke through. And like I said before, I believe that the breakthrough is because of this line here with this dark orange line, which is the short-term cost basis. That is those holders who've held Bitcoin for less than 155 days. Or should I say 155 days or less. And we've seen something similar here now. We've tested our true market mean, gone back up, and we've come down again, broken it. And we're going here now. The only way we're going to get anything falling any further is if our short-term cost basis also goes below the true market mean and possibly the realized price, which is exactly what happened here, as we can see. Now we had, if you go back as far as about 2021 here, you can see that the price broke that. But if you look at it, you can see that the short-term cost basis did not go below either the long-term cost basis or the MVRV zero deviation or the true market mean. But that's what happened here, and that's because the short-term cost basis actually broke that. And so we might see something similar. Realized price is at about 54,754. And if you looked at it, what I discussed with you about a week ago, you can see that this is going lower. Price is trading sideways, and as we can see in the day-to-day, and we just have to be very careful and watch what happens. So this is one of my major metrics that I look at. Okay, let's look at another one, and that's this one here, which is the MVRV bands, and the different bands at different standard deviations. And as you can see, if we look very closely, every single time we've had the price of Bitcoin break those bands, you can see that here you can see the MV mean broke this last bottom here. Let me see if I can. Let's see. We need to stop the. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to do. So now we don't have that thing interfering. So now, as I was saying, every single time we've seen the price of Bitcoin break the lower bands here, which is the MV minus 1 standard deviation, we can see that the price, the MV mean price, also breaks there, as you can see here. Now, it's also broken that 1 standard deviation. Now, it's broken it there, and we can see that it got to the bottom. The price got bottomed out and then started going back up. The same thing has happened here. The same thing has happened here, 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 and it's almost happening now. Now, if the price, or if the MV mean itself breaks this MV minus 1 standard deviation, then we can then begin to consider the price of Bitcoin bottoming out. But until that time, we just have to wait and see. I have, there are many more metrics that one can look at, but I have stuck to quite a few just in order not to overwhelm myself. The next one I want to have a look at is this one, which is quite interesting. It's the supply in profit and loss. And as you can see here, it's a metric compares each U2XO's creation price with the current Bitcoin price, showing what percentage of the circulating supply is in profit or loss. Now, one key thing there that happens is, let's stick to that. Good. Now, if you look here, every single time Bitcoin has bottomed, you can see that the supply in loss has gone above the supply in profit. That's this orange line here, that's the supply in profit, whereas this reddish line is the supply in loss. And when that goes over that, as you can see the overlap there, that begins to show you that the price is bottoming before it goes up. It's happened there, it's happened here, 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 and also here. And now it's happening there again. Now they haven't quite crossed over each other, but they touched briefly. I think that was when Bitcoin hit $60,000. And you can see that they're separated here, but we're not out of the woods yet. So that's something else I am looking at very closely to see that. Next, ladies and gentlemen, is this one. Now, this is the bull and bear market. So that's the bull, that's what the bull looks like, but we're looking at the bear market. And the first bear market we had, the price of Bitcoin fell by 93%, and that lasted for 163 days. The second bull market, excuse me, let me hide that. Good. The second bull market bear market, I beg your pardon, lasted for 411 days, and the price of Bitcoin fell by 85%. The next one, 363 days at 83%. And as you can see, this is the 2018-2019 period. This is the 2014, period. This is the 2011 to 2012 period here. And this one here, between the 2022 and 2023 here, we can see that it lasted for 378 days, and the price of Bitcoin fell by 77%. And now, currently, it's only gone on for 140 days, and the price of Bitcoin has fallen by 50%. We could, if we look at this chart here, you could easily draw a line breaking up, saying that this period of the drops, as you can see, 93%, 85%, 83%, 77%. You can see a gradual fall in the level of drawdown. So far, so good. We're only at 140 days and 50%. So we have to watch that closely, because we do not know. We might just find ourselves falling even further. Now, if we are to take an average, we've got about 390 days. Minus that 140, guess another 250 days or so. So we are looking at about another 7, maybe 8 months. Yeah, about 8 months to when the bear market might actually come to an end. Remember, Bitcoin is becoming a mature instrument. Therefore, that might not necessarily be right. We have to watch that very closely. Okay, And finally, let me look at this. Okay, this is the long-term holders in profit. And as we can see, and the white line here is the price of Bitcoin. And when that long-term holders in profit, when it breaks there and it comes down to about 58% in profit, we begin to see changes. And that's where those long-term holders are still holding on, but they're beginning to get worried. I believe they're beginning to get worried. And if we come here, let's just use this area here. So we've got about 50% there, although it went all the way down to about, what is this? We're looking at about 47, no, it's much lower than that. So I think about 54% there. Here, about 54% here. And let's say an average of about 54%. We at the moment, we are still 73.55% still in profit. So I suspect that it will have to fall even further for us to begin to look more closely at being the bottom of the bear market. Again, remember, price is all about probabilities, not predictions. We are just looking at past information to try and determine what would happen in the future. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the charts. And this is for Bitcoin. Areas of supply, these red ones here, areas of demand. And you can see that Bitcoin has used this area of demand here as the main support. And that support area, ladies and gentlemen, is between, I believe, 52 and 52,000 and 59,000. Now remember that our realized price is about 54,000. So if we break that, there will be a danger of a further fall. But so far so good. We are still safe. If we look at a bit more detailed chart here, which is this one, it also shows areas of demand and supply. But what I want you to look at is this chart here, this one. Now, these gray histograms, they indicate both buyers and sellers, they believe that it's just, they just believe that it's a consensus belief, I beg your pardon, that there's going to be a fall in the price. The green ones represent the perp buyers and sellers, and the red represents, or this maroon, just a little bit maroon, as you can see there, those are the futures buyers and sellers. And this consensus here says that they're just more or less selling. We are not going to go fully on that, but because that's a whole new discussion. But what I'm trying to say here is that so far so good, the sentiment is quite sad and still bearish. Okay, let's quickly switch over to Ethereum. And as you can see here with the Ethereum, the area of demand here is also acting as support. And there's a lot of confluence with that value area low there, I believe it is. Yeah, value area low. This value area low here. These ones here, that one there as well. All these are saying that this area is quite strong. Now, if we break this area, then we are looking at about 1,200. Or between 1,100 and 1,200 in Ethereum's price. But so far so good, that's not what we have at the moment. The area of support that we need to look at is between 1,385 to 1,689. So we're looking at 1,380 to about 1,690. So those are your key levels that you need to keep your eye on. Again, as we can see the sideways trading. To exacerbate, or sorry, I beg your pardon, to show you that if you click on the daily, you'll be able to see it even more. You can see that we're trading sideways. So there could be break to the up or downside depending on what happened. It could be some bad news, some ridiculous tweet from El Presidente across the pond, or who knows. Finally, let's have a quick look at Solana. Again, we go over to the weekly. Solana is a bit trickier, as we can see. There's not really any area of support here. There's no, and the areas of demand are further down at about just under $20, which is quite far from where we are now, which is about 83. I suspect that this value area low here on this volume profile and this value area high on this volume profile here could act as areas of support, which it has done here, and if it falls, I think here, which is about 65. Now, I've done a video about the price falling lower, but if that happens, I think we should look very closely at it. If we break 65, I think we should look at it, the fact that something lower could come about. But so far, so good. If we switch over to the daily, just briefly, one will see that also, as you can see here, that Solana is also trading sideways, no areas of support in sight. Or should I say no areas of demand, I beg your pardon, in sight, well, support, but there's no areas of demand in sight. And you can see that there's sideways trading here. So I think we should look very closely at about a 65 to between 65 and 109 is a bit too far. Let's say, let's take here about 100, between 65 and 100. If it breaks that area, then we could be in a lot of trouble when it comes to Solana. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please, I would love to hear your comments about any of the things, particularly the key levels I've mentioned. If you believe a key level for a particular instrument will be hit, please put a hit. And if you think it's going to be a miss, please put a miss. I really appreciate that. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes and ears open and your trading sharp. Have a good one.